recycle, reuse, repurpose, and recycle, reuse, repurpose. Recycle, reuse, repurpose, something. Don't know what it is. Hello and welcome to my garden and the dinosaurs who live there. And welcome also to this July small space gardening video. And this is part of the small space gardening collaboration, where I think 10 different channels are talking about the how you can grow productively in a small space, whether it's a window box, a courtyard, a small area of your garden, or whatever. So in July, this July edition, we're talking about the 4 R's: recycle, repurpose, reduce, and reuse. And really it's about making the most of what you have and trying to prevent things going to landfill, trying to give things another life once whatever their purpose was, they're no longer needed for that. And I think where gardeners are concerned and gardening is concerned, there's lots of opportunities to do that. So let me take you into the small space that I've been focusing on in this video series, and I'll show you some of the things I'm doing around the 4 R's. I'm also going to look at other parts of the garden because there's other areas in the garden that I'm doing other things that I think will be worthwhile talking about in this video. Now, I think many people will likely do this. You can see here some plastic containers that I got bedding plants in, and of course they're set up for growing on small plants. Already got the holes in the bottom, etc, etc. So I've used these, and I use these consistently to transplant seedlings into. So here we've got some spinach, and here we have some lettuce. So these are just perfect for using throughout the growing season. So here you can see something that I've repurposed. This tote was a tote that was distributed by our council for recycling. So you'd put, I think it was newspapers in this one. But they stopped using this as a means of recycling. And of course, I still had my plastic tote. So what do? I drill some nice holes in it and I use it as a planter. And in here you can see I've got some mussel burra leeks, and I'm hoping that they'll grow throughout the autumn into the winter and I can harvest them as I need to use them. Now the next thing that I am repurposing, I can't actually show you. This is my squash, my winter squash that are growing really, really well. Let me just show you. Now this isn't in the small growing space, so I haven't really been featuring it in this video series, but there's a Muscade de Provence squash. There's a bee enjoying flower. And I have, there's a blue Hubbard, and I've got another couple of blue Hubbards, and in among this there are loads and loads of Ikechikuri. You can maybe just see some there. In there. All over. Anyway, this is a squash bed and it has been going crazy, crazy, crazy. And if you look just at the back there, you'll see some tarp, some white tarpaulin. And that is a little pile of chopped logs. And they are sitting on a pallet. And what I do have other pallets, and the plan is to make this into a little log store so that I can do something like that. That was here when I moved in, and it was obviously a bought one, although I've had to put some lovely tarp on the top to keep the rain out. But yeah, the plan is to use some pallets to make another log store. I do have a pallet, as I say, under there to set the logs on to keep them off the ground. So I am repurposing using that pallet, but I will, once we get into the winter time and this dies back and I can get in, I can get my log store complete. So here we are in the space that I've been focusing on in this video series, and the main thing that I have been reusing, or repurposing actually, are these scaffolding planks. And I've used scaffolding planks that were no longer needed by the scaffolding company to make the raised beds that I'm growing in. So yeah, these have been fundamental to me getting my bed sorted out. Now, I haven't actually painted them. I promised I was going to stain them or paint them so they looked all rather nice, but I didn't manage to get that done. But I may well do that later on in the year or early next year. But yeah, they're nice and solid, really solid. And even if you're a sort of a bodger DIYer like I am, you can put the beds together really easily. It's good for growing weeds, of course, as well as plants. Yeah, you can get these together and knock up some beds really, really easily. And what I did was I just put some cardboard. I made the frames, I put some cardboard down, then I filled up the bed with bits of twig, little bits of rotten log, lawn clippings and compost. If we look down onto the ground, you'll see that I've got wood chip, and this has been purloined, given to me by a tree surgeon. And certainly in Scotland, tree surgeons are often trying to find people to take the wood chip that they obviously produce when they're felling and processing trees, because it costs them to actually get rid of this wood chip. So if someone says, look, I wouldn't mind a load of wood chip, usually they're quite happy to come round, dump the wood chip at your premises, and you can then use it for whatever you want. So that's what I did. I got about 2 tons, I think, of wood chip, and I've still got probably about a ton left, still more distributing in the garden to go. But it's a good way of having a nice surface around your beds. I just put weed suppressant fabric down, then layered on the wood chip. The wood chip will eventually break down, but then I can use that as a growing medium, mix it in with my compost, and then get more wood chip down. So it's a wee bit of a heavy labour. The chickens love it. You'll see that you can see the weed suppressant fabric under there because they've been in digging, but that's fine. They'll stop any weeds that decide to try and grow in the wood chip. So yeah, it's a fantastic way of using something that somebody else doesn't want. Pick up my weeds. Something I use a lot and that is really, really useful is this. It's a washing up bowl, and I've drilled holes in it, and I've got loads of these, and these are great for a variety of things. Salad crops are great in this, you know, lettuce or spring onions or whatever, and they're a nice size, and you can move them around the garden. You can move them maybe to just right outside your house, your back door, so that it's easy to harvest. And actually I've got some lettuces that I'm going to put in this one, these ones here actually. So I'm going to put a few, maybe 6 in here, and I'll grow them on, and they'll give me some lovely salad leaves. But as I say, a whole variety of things that you can put in here: radishes, spring onions. You can even grow beetroot and little turnips and things in here as well. So yeah, I would highly recommend for people that maybe don't have a lot of growing space or want something that they can move around to use these kitchen basins. There we go, simple as that. That's our washing up basin. Planted up with, I've got 5 lettuce in here, and I can grow this on to whatever size I want. I can maybe let it grow a bit bigger and then start taking some individual leaves off, or I can let them grow a bit larger and then harvest them as a whole head of lettuce. So I can position this, because it's nice and easy to move and it's nice and light even when it's full of wet compost as this one is, I can position it wherever I want to. So maybe down outside the kitchen door, or in the little grow house down there, or even in the polytunnel up here if I wanted to, or if that was going to be too hot, just on a table or whatever outside. Obviously I want to keep this away from the chickens. Okay, I'm looking at the back of this setup that I used for growing my peas. I'll actually move back round to the front. So what I have is this plastic mesh, really quite, it's quite robust plastic mesh. That's obviously not recycled or reused or whatever. But what I have done is I've used these metal poles. You can see there and there and there, and these have been repurposed. I often in the past have bought little plastic grow houses and a structure of these poles and then a plastic cover on them, and they never last that long, particularly when they're out in the wind and they collapse, etc. But you end up, the plastic goes first, but you end up with lots of these metal poles, and they're fantastic for doing such as this, just making little structures. I just banged that into the ground with a hammer, and it's nice and sturdy, and then I just put this plastic mesh across it. These peas are not very tall growing peas, but if I had taller growing peas, these poles wouldn't do. I would have to get some longer ones, but it's a good solid structure, and a good way of using or reusing these metal poles. Well, unfortunately, my microphone must have run out of battery just at this point, but we're at the end of the video anyway. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope it's given you a few ideas as to how you can reuse, repurpose, etc. different things to the benefit of your garden. And if you have liked this video, please give me a thumbs up, and remember to check out the videos of the other collaborators. Just look in the description box associated with this video and you'll see the links to those. But for now, I'll say bye bye.